How many words?
Yeah, I myself do not know the correct number of words, but according to one dictionary, there were more than 3 lakh words. Is it possible for you to learn 3 lakh words and then become a journalist? It is not possible. You know how many words in a William Shakespeare? William Shakespeare is considered to be the greatest writer. How many words did he know? Do you know that? He used about 16,000 words. How many words? 16,000 words. And I can tell you, some of you may be knowing more than William Shakespeare. For instance, you know the word delete. Do you know the word delete? Everybody knows? Do you know the word computer? Do you know the word fan? Do you know? These were words which were not known to William Shakespeare. You know these words. These words were not known to William Shakespeare. He did not use the word computer. He did not use the word mobile. He did not use the word, software, hardware. All these words you know. William Shakespeare did not know. So you have a better command of the English language. Now, have you heard about, BBC? Have you heard about BBC? British Broadcasting Corporation. In British Broadcasting Corporation, they have a dictionary. It has only 2,000 words. How many words? Only 2,000 words. All their journalists, all their reporters are expected to use only those 2,000 words while writing their reports. Only 2,000 words. And I can bet that everybody who is listening to me knows all those 2,000 words because they are very simple words which you learned at school. Now, which means all of you can become BBC journalists. Am I right? For instance, I'll tell you why BBC insists on using simple words. If suppose I'm a journalist and I report from Parliament, I say, this is my report. There was hickledy-pickledy in Parliament. Did you understand anything? There was hickledy-pickledy in Parliament. What is hickledy-pickledy? Hickledy-pickledy is the longest word in English dictionary. You can check it. Higg, Leddy, Pigg, Leddy. Hickledy-pickledy. If a BBC correspondent uses the word, will anybody understand? No. And what is the meaning of hickledy-pickledy? Utter confusion. What does it mean? Confusion. So that is why BBC insists on using the simplest words possible. That is why they have a dictionary of 2,000 words. The point is, you can write, anybody can be a BBC correspondent. And All India Radio also has a similar dictionary, which has also only 2,000 words. Of course, these modern words like computer, etc. will be used. But otherwise, all of you have the vocabulary to be a good journalist. That is the point. Am I clear? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is there any?
We are waiting for the principal to join.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Then what?
That was really enlightening, sir, because I can use it in my classes now. Really enlightening.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Because many a time people think that they can't write because they don't have the vocabulary. Writing doesn't require that kind of vocabulary, even with minimum number of words. For instance, I have a grandson. He is only 5 years old. He speaks Hindi, he speaks English, he speaks Malayalam, and he also speaks sign language. Sign language also he uses. And he doesn't know many words, but you speak to him in English, he will answer you in English. If you speak to him in Hindi, he will answer you in Hindi. Why? Because he has the confidence. So English. So you don't need a large vocabulary to speak or write. All you need is
Confidence.
confidence. Once you have the confidence, you can speak. Unfortunately, many a time, people are not confident. They will think, whether what I say is correct, whether what impression I will make on others. That's the problem. That is when people are unable to speak in English or in any language. Yeah. And let me also, if there is time, I can also tell you an anecdote. Have you heard about a person called Dalhousie?
Yeah.
Dalhousie.
Yes.
Dalhousie was
Bengal.
he was the Governor General. Dalhousie, there is a place in Himachal Pradesh named after him, Dalhousie. I had been to that place. So there is one lady living there, a British lady. She is married to a Christian bishop in India. She lives there. So when the 105th anniversary of Dalhousie was celebrated, so she was put in charge of that in Dalhousie by the district administration. She thought, she should write the great grandson of Dalhousie, inviting him to Dalhousie. So she wrote a letter, and he sent a reply also. And once I visited this particular lady, then she told me this story. Then I asked her, "Can I see that letter? Dalhousie's great grandson wrote." She said, "Yes." And she brought a letter. Can you believe it is a small letter? It had so many spelling mistakes. It had no grammar at all. Written by a British and Dalhousie's great grandson. And believe me, a fifth class student in a good school in India will be able to write better than that Dalhousie. And what the letter said was that he is unable to come to India because he is not physically well. I'm sorry, I am unable to come. And his English was so bad. And what is his mother tongue? English. So we speak much better English than many of the Englishmen.
Right. Good evening, Father Davis.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Shall we start up with the program? Yes, Father
Yeah,
Joyce.
okay, sir. Father Joyce will be joining, I think so.
Okay, sir. Okay. We'll be waiting.
We can wait just a minute, and after that we can start.
Sure, Father. We'll wait.
Okay.
I'm actually at my office. Today is a working day for me.
Okay. Thank you for taking out the time for this.
It's my pleasure. We have about 6,000 students on our rolls.
Good. Okay.
So all the students are at their homes or they are on the campus? No,
They're at home.
they are all at home. Okay.
They're all at home. How is the situation there in Delhi, sir?
Pardon me?
How is the situation in Delhi right now?
Yeah, the weather is very good. Yeah, winter is slowly advancing. There is a nip in the air in the evening. and you can sleep without fan. That is one good thing. Yeah, the weather is really enjoyable. Yeah, otherwise COVID is there everywhere. That is one problem, but I find the markets are all full of people, and traffic is heavy. Yeah,
It has come to normalcy almost.
I won't say normal, but yeah, near normalcy. At least on the road, you won't feel that there is any emergency situation. The traffic is heavy. Maybe because the metro is not in full swing, so they're admitting only limited number of passengers. So all those who are used to travel by metro are now using their own vehicles. That may be one of the reasons why the traffic is heavy. And nobody knows when the schools will be opened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We are also waiting to know when
Yeah.
this would
Yeah.
open.
that is true.
Yeah, it is quite difficult, teaching this way.
Yeah.
Actually, meet people, meet our children.
Yeah. Now we also use this format to teach our students, but some of our students are very poor. They don't have access to these devices, so teaching them is very difficult. And we have about 150 children with various disabilities. So teaching them, in this way is not at all possible. A spastic child or child who is mentally challenged, how can you teach that person through Zoom? It is almost impossible. So that is one challenge we are having. They are at home, and yeah, when they come to our campus, they're very happy. They remain with us for about 6-7 hours. So that is a good period of their life. That is one problem.
So you have a mixed class or a special school for them?
No, this is not exactly a school. This is, yeah. Otherwise, we have in our school we have mixed students, but we also have a center exclusively for the severely disabled. Yeah. Of course, all our schools are disabled friendly, in the sense that ramps are there. We give admission also. We don't discriminate against them. We give admission to such children also. But all the disabled, it is not possible to teach in a general class. Yeah.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. Yes. So such children, are we take special care. We have special educators to teach them. Yeah. The other day, I was spending time with a child. She was putting a square in a square block in a square hole, in a square, depression. So when she put it successfully, she was so happy, she was clapping. Yeah. So that how can you teach in a general class? It is not possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting late.
And many parents have only one phone, and they are not smartphones also. Then how will you teach them?
Then what are those children doing now?
Yeah. So we have attempted one. We are making an attempt. That is we are running mohalla classes. Mohalla class is an idea where our teachers go to their place under a tree or in a building, or some children come. We keep special social distancing, and our teachers teach them. That is what we have been doing in one of our schools in Haryana, and that school is located in one of the most backward regions of India. And Nidhi Ayog says it is the most backward district, new district in Haryana. And our school is located in one of the most backward regions of the most backward district. So you can imagine. So our teachers go there, then the children come and they teach. Yeah.
That's a great experience.
Yeah, we call it Mohalla classes.
We had heard of your CM's Mohalla clinic, but
Yeah,
class.
CMs. Yeah, the CM has been making a lot of claims. And of course, they have done a lot to improve the government schools, and I don't deny that. Infrastructure-wise, some buildings have come up, some special schools have been set up. But the condition of teaching in government schools is still pathetic. Yeah.
Really, my God, they make such tall claims.
Claims are made, but it is not very factual. Because we ran one government school for 4 years. We had a program whereby we used to run one New Delhi South Delhi Municipal Corporation school. It was a primary school. So we went there, we collaborated with the government, and our teachers would go there, teach, and we ran the school for nearly for 4 years. Then the government did not support us and things like that. But we were able to do a dramatic transformation in the lives of those children. Because I remember when I went there, there were only 45 students. And they would come, mostly for midday meal. And after midday meal, some of them would also do begging there. That was the kind of situation. But when we went there, we stopped all that, and the enrollment increased to 250. Yeah, and not only that, they did very well also. Yeah, the students, we never discriminated against any of them, and the children, all of them, felt very happy. But unfortunately, we could not continue because there was no financial support from anyone. So for 4 years, we ran this program, and then we had to withdraw. Yeah.
What is the syllabus? State syllabus?
Yeah, state syllabus. Yeah. Only thing, the government allowed us to teach in English medium. So we checked with the parents, they all wanted English medium. All the parents, 99% of the parents wanted English medium. And we can tell you that, I can tell you that, our children, those children would be able to answer you in English if you ask them something in English. Yeah. That kind of confidence they gained over the last 4 years. Yeah. Our children also, in our school also, our children come from mostly slum areas, slums. So most of our children are from the slums, but you come to our school, visit our school, and have an interaction with our students. We have, in one school, we have 1,800 students. In another school, we have 1,400 students. And we have several learning centers. You come and visit the children anytime, and you speak to them.
Sir, shall we begin?
Yeah.
Father will be joining later, I think.
Okay, sir. Okay, Father. So, Amrita?
Yes, sir. We'll start, sir.
Yeah.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. Today, we all have gathered here on this wonderful afternoon to engage in an informative interactive session with one of the highly experienced and renowned journalist, Sir A.J. Philip. Along with this, we shall also celebrate the release of the 4th edition of the Feathers of Hope magazine. I'm Saranya.
And I am Sam. We are your hosts for today's ceremony, and this gives us immense pleasure to celebrate this event before you all. As it is often said, the fruit of silence is prayer, the fruit of prayer is faith, the fruit of faith is love, the fruit of love is service, and the fruit of service is peace. So with this, let's begin this event with a prayer song by Punyashree, Gayana, and Parinika. In the meanwhile, may I now request everyone to kindly switch on their cameras and light the candles.
आ जाओ कि सब मिलके रब से दुआ मांगे जीवन में सुकून चाहे, चाहत में वफा मांगे, हालात बदलने में अब देर ना हो मालिक, जो देख चुके फिर ये अंधेर ना हो मालिक। एक तू ही भरोसा, एक तू ही सहारा, इस तेरे जहां में नहीं कोई हमारा। ईश्वर या अल्लाह ये पुकार सुन ले, ईश्वर या अल्लाह हे दाता। ईश्वर या अल्लाह ये पुकार सुन ले, ईश्वर या अल्लाह हे दाता। एक तू ही भरोसा, एक तू ही सहारा, इस तेरे जहां में नहीं कोई हमारा। ईश्वर या अल्लाह ये पुकार सुन ले, ईश्वर या अल्लाह हे दाता। ईश्वर या अल्लाह ये पुकार सुन ले, ईश्वर या अल्लाह हे दाता। हमसे न देखा जाए बर्बादियों का समा, उजड़ी हुई बस्ती में ये तड़प रहे इंसान। हमसे न देखा जाए बर्बादियों का समा, उजड़ी हुई बस्ती में ये तड़प रहे इंसान। नन्हे जिस्मों के टुकड़े लिए खड़ी है एक माँ, बारूद के धुएं में तू ही बोल जाए कहाँ। एक तू ही भरोसा, एक तू ही सहारा, इस तेरे जहां में नहीं कोई हमारा। ईश्वर या अल्लाह ये पुकार सुन ले, ईश्वर या अल्लाह हे दाता। ईश्वर या अल्लाह ये पुकार सुन ले, ईश्वर या अल्लाह हे दाता।
Thank you so much for the divine invocation.
May I now request Jochan sir to deliver the welcome speech. Sir, you're on mute.
Sorry for that. Thank you, each and everyone present here, for all that you have been to and your contributions to this wonderful initiative by the CBSE Humanities Mass Media students. It is a great privilege and honor to welcome the members of the management of Christ Academy Junior College and the distinguished guest for today's webinar. First and foremost, I thank God Almighty for this wonderful get-together to share the views and visions for a better tomorrow. It makes me proud to welcome Reverend Father Dr. Joyce CMI, the Director of the Christ Academy Group of Institutions and the Principal of Christ Academy Junior College. He is a principal and a director, one at the same time, holding both the offices with ease and grace. The Christ Academy Group of Institutions is what it is today, has a lot of the sweat and blood of this great missionary. He is a dedicated leader who leads comfort way with courage and stability. A warm welcome to Father Joyce to this webinar. Father David CMI, a priest none like him, is a joy exemplified and needs no introduction here. The academic life in CAJC is safe in the Vice Principal's hands. His presence is in the campus brings the gentle, jolly touch to all endeavors undertaken. I welcome Father Davis, the Vice Principal of CAJC, to this webinar on behalf of all present here and the whole team of Feathers of Hope. Mr. A.J. Philip has been a journalist, writer, speaker, and an academician for the last 47 years. He started his career as a journalist with the India Press Agency in New Delhi. He worked in various capacities with the Hitavada in Bhopal, the Searchlight in Patna, the Hindustan Times in Patna and New Delhi, the Indian Express New Delhi, the Tribune Chandigarh, and he has written over 10,000 editorials in these newspapers, besides the New Indian Express, the Lokmat Times, and the All India Radio, where he also worked as a Malayalam newsreader for some time. He has been writing a regular weekly column for the Indian Currents. He used to write a weekly column on India for the Oman Tribune till it was folded up a few years ago. He was the first director of Pratichi India Trust, set up by the Nobel laureate Amartya Sen. In that capacity, he started a school in the super cyclone hit area in Paradeep, Orissa. He has been a member of Dibalaya, one of the largest NGOs in Delhi, and served the organization in the honorary capacity of president for about 18 years, and now as secretary and chief executive for 4 years. He also serves as manager of Dibalaya School, Kalkaji Extension, New Delhi, a higher secondary school affiliated to CBSE, and as chairman of Dibalaya School, Gusbeti, Haryana, affiliated to Haryana Board of Education in an honorary capacity. He is also the proud recipient of the Chrysostom Navadi Award for Journalism instituted by the Mahatma Church on the occasion of the 90th birthday of the Metropolitan Philippus Mark Chrysostom, the senior most bishop in the whole Christendom. He also received the prestigious Indian Catholic Press Association Award in 2003. Mr. Philip has contributed to several anthologies, including a book that critiqued the Wadsworth Commission report, which went into the killing of the Australian missionary Graham Staines and his 2 teenage sons, and a book on the contributions of Christians to nation building brought out by the Catholic Church in Delhi. Mr. Philip was a member of the Assessment and Monitoring Authority of the Planning Commission of the Government of India, tasked with the responsibility of reviewing all central government programs for the welfare of minorities in India. He is a member of a Christian advisory body of the Delhi Minorities Commission. Mr. Philip has taught journalism at the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Delhi, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh, Punjab University, Chandigarh, Punjabi University, Patiala, Himachal University, Shimla, Niscot, Delhi, and Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, New Delhi. He is active on social media and has a large following on Facebook. He is here today to share with us his views on Gandhi and Gandhism then and now in media. A warm welcome, dear Mr. A.J. Philip, to this gathering.
Thank you.
The next in line is our dear academic coordinator for Commerce section, Mrs. Angel Richard. She is a cool-headed leader, ever smiling and welcoming. We thank Mrs. Angel Richard for all the support she had been to the publication and for gracious presence here. Welcome, Mrs. Angel Richard, to this gathering. Mrs. Rita Natchani, lecturer, English department, and Miss Shweta Thirumeni from the Department of Chemistry are 2 figures who always stood firm with the publication from its inception. Thank you for your presence to both of you. You're a gift to this wonderful bunch of students. Welcome to this webinar, Mrs. Isha and Ms. Shweta. The most important participants of this webinar are the students, and this welcome speech would be incomplete if I did not mention the hard work and continuous efforts and the willpower shown by the students even in the exam times. There is an academic studied response to National Education Policy 2020 written and published in this short span of time by one of our brilliant students, Amrita. Congratulations, Amrita, and the entire team of the editorial board and correspondents. A warm welcome to all of you to this gathering. Participate actively, ask questions, make notes, and plan for a better tomorrow. Welcome one and all present here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful words of welcome and also introducing AJ Phillips, sir, to the gathering.
I would now like to take the privilege to call upon our principal, Reverend Father Dr. Joyce, to give away his message.
I think Father Joyce is not present. We can continue.
Out there, we can go ahead. He'll be joining it.
Yeah.
Okay,
ahead.
sir. With this, I would now like to call upon our chief guest, Sir AJ Philip, to address the gathering and share his thoughts with us all.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm very happy and privileged to be with you today. And I must thank the person who welcomed me for the beautiful words he said about me. And I really feel honored. I'm also thankful to Mr. Jochan and all the others attending this program for giving me this honor. I would now, since Mr. Jochan has asked me to prepare a PowerPoint presentation, I have prepared one. Usually I do not do that, but since he asked me, I have done it. So I may not be visible now because I will be showing this PowerPoint presentation. Is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, can you see Gandhi and Gandhism?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I am not able to see you, but yeah.
We can see you, sir.
Okay, good. So I've been asked to speak about Gandhi and Gandhism, then and now in the media. Journalism. I would like to say a little bit about journalism, its past and present. Who is the first journalist? Can anybody guess? I myself do not know. It can be said that Sage Narada, who is considered the messenger of gods, was the first journalist. Because Sage Narada used to communicate with gods. He would pass on information from one person to the other. So you can call that he was the first journalist. I mean, then do you know who is the first foreign correspondent? Any guess?
Sir, was it Megasthenes?
No. The first foreign correspondent was Hanuman, because he was asked to go to he was asked to go to Lanka and report about the welfare of Sita. So he was the first correspondent who went abroad for reporting purposes. His job was to report. So he went there and came back and told Lord Rama that his wife was all right there. So he was the first foreign correspondent. Now, if those who are familiar with the Bible, they know about, an institution called the prophets in the Old Testament. And they were, who are these prophets? Prophets are people who were not afraid of anybody. They thought, or they believed, that they had the power of God to speak the truth. So it did not matter to the prophets whether the person they are speaking to was the king or the queen. So whatever the prophet felt, he would say openly to those in power. So they were the prophets. Prophets in the Old Testament, I would say, were the first journalists. And they did not work for a salary. They did not get any salary, but they worked for the people. So why? Because they told the truth. So the profession of journalism has something to do with telling the truth. And in the 16th century, there was a group of people in Britain. They were called the Puritans. You know who the Puritans were? The Puritans were people who believed that everything should be according to the Bible. So they questioned some of the practices in the church which they thought were not in accordance with the Bible. So they began to challenge. So when the Puritans began to challenge the church authorities, what the church authorities did was to excommunicate them. They were thrown out of the church. When they were thrown out of the church, what they did was they began to speak outside the church. When they began to speak outside the church, they realized that they were not able to reach many people. So what they did was they used to publish small pamphlets. These pamphlets were essentially to criticize the church. When they realized that they have the power to criticize the church, then why not criticize the church, the state also? So gradually, newspapers came into being. And in Britain, many Puritans were tortured. For instance, there was one great person called John Bunyan. His book, Pilgrim's Progress, is considered a classic in English literature. John Bunyan was a Puritan and he was put in jail. And it was in jail that he wrote this book, Pilgrim's Progress. And there were many such Puritans. All of them, when they found that they were not able to practice their religion in England, what they did was they set sail to reach the New World, as the United States of America was then called. So they went to the New World, or they went to America. And wherever they went, they set up, a small school. They set up places like Pennsylvania, places like New York, places like Washington, places like Florida, places like Houston. They went there, they set up their small community, they would set up a small school, they would set up a small church, and they would also start a small newspaper. That is how newspapers began to grow in Britain. In Britain and in England and in America. And so Puritans in America in the 16th century were the pioneering journalists. And in India, in the year 1780, a paper was started in Bengal, in Calcutta. It was called the Bengal Gazette. The Bengal Gazette was started by a Britisher, and his name is James Augustus Hickey. This was in the year 1780. He started this paper, and this paper, the Bengal Gazette, started by James Augustus Hickey, was the first newspaper in India. Then what had happened? He began to question the wrongs committed by the British administration in Calcutta, in India. When he began to question the government became angry. And who was the Governor General at that time? He was none other than Warren Hastings. So he earned the displeasure of Warren Hastings, as a result of which the newspaper was forced to be closed. So the newspaper, the Bengal Gazette, was closed in the year 1782. That is within 2 years of functioning of a newspaper. Unfortunately, for a long time, for nearly 36 years, there was no newspaper in the country. And then in 1820, a new newspaper was started, and this was called the Friend of India. The Friend of India can in many ways be described as can in many ways be described as a proto newspaper. Proto means the first newspaper. And who published this? This was published by a person called William Carey. William Carey was a British missionary. He came to India, and when he came to India with his family, then the British government at that time, they realized that there is a dangerous person coming from Britain, and his name is William Carey. So when they reached Calcutta, William Carey and his family was not allowed to get down in Calcutta. So they were asked to go back to London. Why? The British did not want any missionaries in India at that time or at any time. Why? Because the British people were, or the East India Company was in India to make profit. They had no other motive but to make profit. So they realized that if the missionaries came, they may create problems for us. So they wanted William Carey to go back to England. But William Carey was a person of great determination, and he was not ready to go back. So what he did was, he did not leave Calcutta for Britain. Instead, he went to a small place called Serampur. Serampur is near Calcutta. It's a small town in West Bengal. At that time, Serampur was under the Dutch rule. It was not under British rule. That is why he was able to go to Serampur. Serampur, I had been to Serampur. Serampur is on the banks of the river Hooghly. Hooghly is the Ganga River. When the Ganga River reaches Calcutta, it is called the Hooghly. So this person, William Carey, went there and started living there. At that time, there was absolutely nothing there in Serampur. What he did was, he started living there, and he started a small school there for the little children there. And what he did was, this school eventually became the Serampur University, the building which you can see here on the screen. This is the university which grants degrees in theology for most of the churches in India today. And when William Carey was there, one day while he was walking, he found a very, very horrible scene. The horrible scene was that of a woman, her husband, she had lost her husband, and the funeral fire was about to be lit. And this woman here is the dead man's wife, was forcibly brought there, and she was put on the funeral pyre, and she was burned to death. And this was something which William Carey could not resist. William Carey, he protested at that time. When he protested, the local people told him that if he protests too much, we will put you also on the pyre. So he could not do anything. So what he did was, he started a paper called The Friend of India. And when he started the newspaper, The Friend of India, the first edition, the first issue had an editorial on the need to abolish sati. That is the first editorial that he wrote. And on the bank, on the left, on one side of the bank of the Hooghly was William Carey's house, and on the opposite bank was the residence of Lord William Bentinck, who was the Governor General at that time. And William Carey became very friendly with William Bentinck, and they used to meet as often as possible. Every time William Carey met Lord William Bentinck, he made only one request, and that request was that you should abolish sati. Of course, there were other social reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was also a friend of William Carey. So they used pressure on Lord William Bentinck to abolish sati. So in the year, on December 4, 1829, sati was abolished. When the proclamation was given, at that time in British India, there was no good printing press. The only good printing press that was available was at Serampur, and it belonged to William Carey. And I must tell you about William Carey. William Carey was not a very educated person. He was a cobbler by profession. But he had an amazing ability which God had given him. That ability was to learn languages. In no time, he could learn a language. So he learned many languages like Hindi, he learned Bengali, he learned Sanskrit. And it's very interesting that he was a great translator. He was the person who first translated the Ramayana into English. He also translated the Bible, the New Testament, into various languages like Assamese, like Bengali, and Sanskrit also. So at that time, there was this problem. There was this institution called the Fort William. Fort William is today the command headquarters of the Eastern Army Command. At that time, it was the institution where the Indian Administrative Service officers were trained. So they wanted a Sanskrit professor. And nobody in India at that time knew Sanskrit and English. The only person who knew Sanskrit and English was William Carey. And William Carey was appointed as a professor in Calcutta at the Fort William College. When he was appointed a professor, he used to commute every day. I was wondering how it was possible for a person living in Srirampur to go to Calcutta every day and then return, because it was not humanly possible, because at that time there were no trains, at that time there was no bus service also, there were no cars also. So how did he manage that? So that was one thing which I wanted to know. So when I went to Calcutta, when I went to Srirampur, I learned how he did it. Actually, when Hooghly River or the Pump or the Ganga River, when it joins the sea, sometimes there is tide. So the water flows in the opposite direction. Sometimes it flows in the opposite direction. So what he would do is, in the morning, he will wait for the time when the river flows in towards the sea. Then he will take his boat and go. And then in the evening, he will wait for the tide so that he can easily come to Srirampur when the river flows in the opposite direction. That is how he used to do it. So he was a great person, and his friend of India was used to highlight the problems of the farmers. Like at that time, the British insisted that farmers in North India, they should, they should earmark a particular area to grow indigo. And the farmers did not want it. They were forced to grow indigo. And at that time, Friend of India was the only newspaper in India which raised its voice against the British practices. So it was not friendly with, it was Friend of India, but it was not friend of the British. So the newspaper was punished several times, but yet William Carey continued. Now, when people realized that newspapers could be used as a weapon, then what had happened was, no, sorry, all the first newspapers in India were started by missionaries. They include Hindi, Marathi, Punjabi, Assamese, Malayalam, Telugu, Kannada, take any Indian language. All the first newspapers were published by the missionaries. Now, who is the greatest journalist India has produced? Can anybody guess a name? Who is the greatest journalist India has produced? Okay. You see, when you have time, you go to any Gandhi Sangrahalaya, any Gandhi library, you will find there the collected works of Mahatma Gandhi. Do you know how many words are there in the Bible? There are 783,137 words in the King James Version of the Bible. And do you know the collected works of Mahatma Gandhi, how many volumes are there? Make a guess. There are 100 volumes in the collected works of Mahatma Gandhi. So, if you calculate 3 volumes of Mahatma Gandhi's works are equal to 1 Bible, then my calculation is that Mahatma Gandhi wrote a minimum of 30 Bibles in his lifetime. How many people in India or how many journalists in India have written as many words as Mahatma Gandhi? When Indian leaders realized that press is a weapon which they can use in the freedom struggle, what had happened was many newspapers began to be published. For instance, Lokamanya Balagangadhara Tilak, he was a great revolutionary leader. He was a great leader. And he started a paper, Kesari. He used the paper mainly to argue for freedom. All the major newspapers of that time, like the Hindu, Amrit Basar Patrika, National Herald, were started by patriots. They found that journalism is something which can be used for the common good, for the good of the nation. And similarly, the Tribune was also started for this purpose. At that time, there was a paper called the Military Gazette. It was published by the British, and this paper was popular in northern India, like Punjab, undivided Punjab. But unfortunately, that newspaper expressed the viewpoint of only the British. For instance, the Times of India at that time, that was also a British newspaper. The Pioneer was also a British newspaper. So at that time, there was one person called Dayal Singh Majitia. Dayal Singh Majitia was a Sardarji, and he was a diamond merchant. He went to London. He went to London and he lived there for some time. And he came back and then he realized that he should use his wealth to publish a newspaper. So that is how the Tribune was published. This newspaper was published mainly to counter the British, the military gazette. And very interestingly, Dayal Singh Majitia was at that time the richest, one of the richest men in India. In fact, he had more wealth than Jamshedji Tata at that time. So he used the money to set up this newspaper called the Tribune. And in his will and testament, he also wrote that his money, his property should be used only to publish the newspaper, to run a library, or to run a school or a college. In Delhi, there is a Dayal Singh College. And I had been to Pakistan once, and the Pakistan Press Club or the Lahore Press Club is situated in Dayal Singh Majitia's house in Lahore. At that time, the Tribune was published from Lahore. Then later on, when India got independence, the Tribune was shifted to first to Shimla, and then to Ambala, and finally to Chandigarh. And I had the fortune of working there. So now endays our man, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. As I mentioned, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was a great journalist. Many people do not know that he was also a great journalist. People know him as a great leader. People know him as the leader, who brought independence for us. We know that he was a great satyagrahi, and he was the person who coined the idea of satyagraha and things like that. But very few people know that he was a journalist. And one great thing about is that he considered many people do not know that Mahatma left London to do law. He learned, he acquired a degree, came back to India. He was looking for a job. Unfortunately, he did not get a job in India. At that time, a rich businessman, a Gujarati Muslim businessman, he had a roaring business in South Africa, and he was looking for a lawyer, basically a clerk, legal clerk. So he appointed Mahatma Gandhi, known as Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and he was taken to South Africa in the year 1893. And Mahatma Gandhi lived in South Africa for 21 years. And when he was in South Africa, he published a paper called The Indian Opinion. I had a few years ago the 100th anniversary of the founding of Satyagraha was celebrated. At that time, the Prime Minister of India at that time, Dr. Manmohan Singh, went to South Africa, and I was lucky enough to accompany him on that visit. So I was able to visit this particular place from where Indian Opinion was published. And Mahatma Gandhi had set up, two farms there. One was this Phoenix settlement, and it was in this Phoenix settlement. This is near Durban. I went there, and I saw this old printing press where the Indian Opinion was published. So he began to publish this newspaper. So Indian Opinion was basically his own newspaper, and he used it as his way of communicating with the people, especially of Indian origin in South Africa. At that time in South Africa, a large number of Indians were there. They were mainly employed in menial jobs. So he was the person who wrote about their problems, and this paper was also published in several languages, and this was published from Phoenix. And then he also wrote his book, Hindu Swaraj, or Indian Home Rule. This is considered Mahatma Gandhi's manifesto. And this book needs to be read. Of course, if you read the book today, I read it recently, and I found that the book was quite funny. because many of the things which he mentions in the book is incomprehensible at this juncture. For instance, he questions the setting up of hospitals. He questions, setting up of, many things which we think, are essential things of life. But that was his viewpoint at that time. One great thing about, Mahatma Gandhi, which we should know, is that he used to write many things. And for instance, if you read Hindu Swaraj, you will wonder, how this man could write such a book. But that is why, Mahatma Gandhi was once asked, "Sir, you have been changing your opinion. So what should be considered as your opinion?" Then he said, "The opinion that I made last should be considered as my opinion." Like that, for instance, as a child, my ambition was to become a driver because driving was a passion, as a child, in any child. Then I wanted to become a pilot. Like that, our ambitions change. Similarly, Mahatma Gandhi used to say many things. For instance, Hindu Swaraj is one such book. Today, if you read it, you will find it very funny. Anyway, what is very important is that at that time, the British considered this book as a seditious text and it was banned. And Hindu Swaraj or Indian Home Rule, this book was serialized in the Indian opinion. Then he came back to India. And when he came back to India, he started a paper called Young India. And he published it from 1919 to 1931. So this was one newspaper which he published in India. Then he also published, in Gujarati and in other languages, a newspaper called Navajivan. After Mahatma Gandhi's assassination, this paper was taken over by the Associated Journals of Delhi. And last year, this Navajivan completed 100 years. So this was one newspaper, which again, another newspaper which Mahatma Gandhi published. Then he also published, the last newspaper that he published was Harijan. Harijan was a newspaper which he published, and he published it till his assassination. And the beauty of this book, of this newspaper, is that at one point it had reached a circulation of 46,000 copies. And one great thing about Mahatma Gandhi's journals was that he did not take any advertisements. He did not take any advertisements. How did he manage them? He charged, subscription, and it was by raising through subscriptions that he managed to run the newspapers. And essentially, Mahatma Gandhi was also a Gujarati. And as you know, Gujaratis are very good in business. And Mahatma Gandhi was also a very good businessman. And most of his journals were running in profit. His profit might not have been big, but he was nonetheless earning some profit. How did he manage that? He would first sell his newspaper. For instance, Harijan. Any Harijan or a schedule, now Harijan is not a term which people prefer these days. So anyway, the point is that a scheduled caste boy or a girl, if he wanted to subscribe to this paper, he would get a free copy of Harijan if he sent a certificate saying that he was a scheduled caste. So Mahatma Gandhi was a businessman, and he also accepted donations from the people. For instance, if he gave his autograph, if he gave his signature to anybody, he would take 1 rupee for that. So he was a very good businessman. He used to collect a lot of money for the freedom struggle and for bringing out these journals. And that is how he ran these newspapers in profit. And there is one particular incident where he wrote in Harijan about himself. And he mentioned that, he used to sleep with a girl called Manu Gandhi. And the editors were scandalized, when they received this particular article by Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was the founder, and he is the publisher, and he is the editor, and he himself has written an article saying that he was sleeping with Manu. Doesn't mean, Manu, that they were having sex. They were sleeping. That was part of his experiment. You can read about it as you grow. The point is, the editors, did not publish it. Then the matter went to the trustees of the paper. They also decided that Mahatma Gandhi's article would not be published. So for the first time, Mahatma Gandhi's own article was not published in his own paper called the Harijan. And I must also tell you that what did what was Mahatma Gandhi? Mahatma Gandhi was practicing journalism, like as I mentioned, like the prophets in the like the prophets in the Old Testament period. He was not afraid of the British. He was a very fearless person, and he also had very good friendship with many Indian editors. Apart from his own journals, he also would write articles for other newspapers also. If an editor requested him to write an article, he would write also. And one great quality Mahatma Gandhi had was that whoever wrote a letter to him, he would send a reply. Whether the letter writer is a rich man, whether he is a king, whether he is a minister, or whether he is an ordinary person, if anyone sent him a letter, he would have sent a reply also. That was one great quality of Mahatma Gandhi. Also, another great quality of Mahatma Gandhi was that he was fearless and he was also truthful. Whatever he did, maybe like whatever experiments he conducted, he would write it openly. That is why he wrote about why why he why he wrote about his life with Manu. Yeah, the point I wanted to make was that he was truthful in what he did. Today, journalism is no longer a mission. Today it is business. So today the standards that we expect from journalism is different. Now we have quality newspapers. There was a time, and I have also read Mahatma Gandhi making one particular statement. He said he valued the freedom of the press. He valued what the newspapers wrote. That is why in one of his writings he mentioned that people in England read the Bible. People in Arab countries read the Quran as seriously as they read the Bible. And he also, as they read the newspaper, he also mentioned that people read the newspapers as as if they read the Gita in India, which means he considered newspapers as the voice of truth, or truth, an embodiment of truth. That was the concept of newspapers by Mahatma Gandhi. Today, things have become different. Today, it is business. And what is the hallmark of business? The hallmark of business is profit. So profit is what motivates today's journalism. I remember one of the editors of a leading newspaper came to Chandigarh. I can mention it since you are students. The editor was the editor of the Economic Times. They had a meeting there, and the editor told the journalist that they should write their stories in such a way that the stories are pleasing to the travelers of the executive class in Shatabdi train. There is a train which connects Delhi with Chandigarh that is called Shatabdi. Shatabdi Express. And in Shatabdi, there are two classes. One is the executive class, and the other is the ordinary class. Executive class is very expensive. So he wants the journalists of Economic Times, to write in such a way that it should appeal to the people who are traveling in AC in the executive class. So the morals are changed. Today, profit is the motive. Today, because of COVID, what has happened to the media is that in the name of COVID, many newspapers have closed down. In the name of COVID, they have retrenched many journalists. In the name of COVID, they have cut the salaries of many journalists. Thousands of journalists have lost their jobs. Today, as you can see, one television channel is suffering, not suffering, how they were manipulating their TRP ratings, how they were manipulating it. Why? All this is for profit. Mahatma Gandhi did not consider newspaper as a profit maker. I am not saying that profit is not needed, but profit should not be the only concern. What Mahatma Gandhi wanted to say, or what Mahatma Gandhi tried to convey through his life and through his journalism was that speaking the truth is the objective, and that objective can be subserved only if you practice truth in your own life. Thank you very much. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Were you listening or were you? I
Yes,
was.
sir. Yes, sir. We were listening.
Okay. So he gave me 20 minutes. I hope, I did not check my watch.
No, sir. That was really engaging.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, for those engaging and illuminating words. We all have definitely soaked in a lot of knowledge from you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, dear audience, here is the chance to clear your queries. Now the floor is open for questions.
You can begin the session with your question.
Yeah, you can. Anybody. If you have any questions, I would be happy. I don't say that I cannot claim that I have the answers for all your questions, but I will try to answer some of them. Yeah.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So my name is Edison Joseph, and I'm from class 2nd PUCA.
Okay.
So my question for you is that what actually really inspired you to become a journalist or a social activist?
Yeah. You see, I'm fond of reading newspapers, and that habit was instilled in me by my father or my grandfather. So the newspaper used to reach early in the morning at our home. My grandfather had the privilege of reading it first. So I would wait for my grandfather to finish reading. And as soon as he read it, at that time I used to read only Mandrake the Magician. There used to be a cartoon strip. So I first started reading that, and gradually I started reading the newspapers. And then I was a voracious reader, and a newspaper gave me an opportunity to read. So I used to read a lot. And when I joined college, no, not in college, when I was in class 10, and English was my favorite subject. So somebody advised my father that I should subscribe to the Hindu newspaper. The Hindu newspaper was very expensive at that time. One issue was costing 12 paisa. 12 paisa was the price of the newspaper. So my father would give me money, and I would go and buy the Hindu newspaper. And because it cost me 12 paisa, I would read every word in the newspaper, so that I get the maximum benefit from the newspaper. Sometimes what happens, I may not be able to read the whole paper one day, so I'll read it early in the morning and read the balance of the paper. That is how I used to read. And 12 paisa means, and I would also keep the newspaper safely and nicely, so that I can sell it as reddi and get about 5 paisa I will get back. So I used to spend only 7 paisa per paper, but that was, I used to extract the maximum from it. And then what had happened was, I enjoyed reading. And then while reading, I began to write letters to the editor. And one of my friends was learning typing. So I would write my letters and then give it to him. He will type it, and I would send it to the editor. Maybe because they were getting typed letters, they were publishing my letters. So I was very happy to find, although I was in college, I was in pre-degree first year or second year, my letters started appearing in the Hindu. I was very happy to see A.J. Philip Pathanandata. That is what the address would be. Address is written. So I was very happy to see that. So that encouraged me to become a journalist. So while I was in college, I was in the third year, we started a magazine called Naveenam. I had a friend at that time. His name was Nillikal Muralidharan Nair. He was studying in MA final, and I was in BA final year. So he encouraged us, and we started a magazine. So I was the editor of that magazine. He was the chief editor, Nillikal Muralidharan Nair. Professor Nair, passed away a few years ago. And we started this magazine. We brought out, 4 issues of the magazine. So journalism, that is how I developed an interest in journalism. Yes. And as regards, social work, social work, when I came to Delhi, I got involved. Somebody introduced me to Deepalaya. So I was interested in it, and then I started visiting it. Then I found that children were there. So I enjoyed, the work. And then I became, the president of Deepalaya. And in that capacity, I used to visit the schools or programs, etc. And it fascinated me. So I am fond of, social work. That is how I became a social worker also.
Thank you so much, sir.
Aniket, you can follow.
Hello.
Yes, Smita, you can proceed with your question.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself Smita Evangeline from CBSE Humanities. Sir, a very known and common fields in journalism are news reporting or etc.
No, I did not get the question. Sorry. Sorry, I did not get the question. Hello, can you please repeat?
Nida?
Yes, sir. Looks like she's facing some network issues on her end. Till then, Aniket, you can continue.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, my name is Aniket Singh. I'm from CBSE Humanities. Sir, I have a question. What are the challenges that you have faced in the initial phases of your career?
Yeah, the greatest challenge was to find a job. That was one challenge. And then the salary, I was a beginner, the salary was very minimal salary. For instance, I came to Delhi in 1973. And fortunately for me, I got a job on the third day of my arrival in Delhi. Somebody advised me to meet, one great journalist at that time, Mr. Nikhil Chakravarti. He was a great journalist. So I met him, and then he asked me to get, 3 letters from 3 MPs, CPI MPs, recommendation letters. Then I will give you a job. So it was a challenge for me to get 3 recommendation letters from 3 MPs, and those MPs should be CPI MPs. I found it very funny to ask a journalist, an aspiring journalist, to get these letters. I don't know why he asked me to do that, but anyway, I took that as a challenge. I met 4 MPs. One MP refused to give me that certificate, but 3 MPs gave me, and I approached Nikhil Chakravarti again, and then he gave me the job. But the salary at that time was only 150 rupees. And 150 rupees in Delhi in 1973 was a very small amount, because I had to pay 70 rupees as room rent. And 70 rupees was the 2 meals a day was costing, 70 rupees. So I was left with only 10 rupees to meet all other expenses, including bus fare and things like that. So life in Delhi was very, very difficult those days. That was my biggest challenge.
Thank you so much, sir, for clearing all our queries and also providing a source of inspiration. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We dance for laughter.
We dance for tears.
We dance for madness.
We dance for fears.
We dance for hopes.
We dance for screams.
We are the dancers. We create the dreams.
Dance is one of the performing arts, shows so many hidden emotions and feelings. With this, may I now call upon Guyana for a dance performance.
കുന്തിരി തഞ്ചി കുന്തിക്കോ മുന്തിരി മുത്തൊളി ചിന്തിക്കോ മന്ദടി വർണ്ണ ചുന്ദരി വാവേ അങ്കിന്നക്ക തകതിമിയാടും തങ്കനിലാവേ കുന്തിരി തഞ്ചി കുന്തിക്കോ മുന്തിരി മുത്തൊളി ചിന്തിക്കോ മന്ദടി വർണ്ണ ചുന്ദരി വാവേ അങ്കിന്നക്ക തകതിമിയാടും തങ്കനിലാവേ
Thank you, Gayana, for the delightful and energetic performance.
May I now request Father Davis to announce the release of the magazine?
Respected executive sir, dear staff and dear students, first of all, I would like to congratulate for the entire team of Christ Academy Junior College, for the members for the initiative of the Feathers of Hope. Especially, I remember George sir and the entire team for your valuable, remarkable service and for the colorful monthly publication. Also, I want to mention here that this magazine is the result of constant hard work and team spirit of our beloved members. I'm very happy to know that even though in these pandemic situations, our staff and students are always dynamic in nature. That is why we are coming out with varieties of program, showcasing our talents and expressing our views and ideas through different mediums. This is a challenge of our life, and we need to face our challenges with constant hard work and courage. Sometimes we may not be perfect in many things, but remember, many things cannot be perfect without you. So stay in your special, in your little, in your own ways. Once again, all the wish and all the support from my side to these monthly publications. And I wish all the success. I remain thank you. With this, I release this fourth edition of your Feathers of Hope magazine to all. Thank you very much. May God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Father. And now, it is with utmost elation I would like to call upon Mithun and the editorial board to present the magazine and share their experience.
Good afternoon. I'm Yanishwan, the editor-in-chief of the magazine Feathers of Hope. I would like to introduce you to the editorial board without whose hard work this magazine would not have been presented to you. Now, as we all know, the theme for this month's edition is Gandhi and Gandhism. This theme was precisely chosen because the world seems turned to violence day by day, expecting a better tomorrow. Here is when Gandhi and his views on life gathers greater importance. We need to proclaim Gandhism not just to the youngsters of India, but to the whole world, which seems to be becoming more and more violent these days. Hence, this edition of Feathers of Hope is hereby presented to you on the father of our nation. Thank you.
Warm greetings to one and all. I'm the editor of fiction writing and poetry section of the magazine. Poetry is the rhythmical creation of beauty in words. In here, we have amazing talent for the poetry section. In this edition, I have encountered different genre of poems like narrative, lyrical, etc., presented in different emotions like happiness, melancholic, motivational, and so on. This pulls me to completely accept the quote poetry is the clear expression of mixed thoughts. I'm very sure everyone will be able to connect to these works as an emotion strongly expressed through a poem is a sensation after all. In the magazine Feathers of Hope, you will enjoy reading different poems in the upcoming editions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I am here to talk about photography. Photography is the art of capturing images in colors and with imagination. It speaks volume about the one's expectation and creativity. The photography session in this magazine provides a platform for the budding photographers from all streams across CAJC. It is a proud moment for me to present these excellent work of art to the readers of fourth edition of Feathers of Hope. It is colorful and vivid with images. Thank you all who contributed to this session and expect the same in the coming month too. Feathers of Hope, 4th edition, now presents you to the photography session of our talented young minds. Thank you.
I would now like to present to you the short story section of the magazine. A short story is a piece of prose and fiction that typically can be read in one sitting with the intent of evoking a single effect. Short story writers may define their works as part of the artistic and personal expression of the form. Short stories have deep roots, and the power of short fiction has been recognized in modern society for hundreds of years. As William Boyd, the award winning British author and short story writer, has said, short stories seem to answer something very deep in our nature, as if, for the duration of its telling, something special has been created, some essence of our experience extrapolated, some temporary sense has been made of a common turbulent journey towards the grave and oblivion. Thank you.
Good evening to one and all present here. We have different methods of expressing or explaining our feeling or our thinking. Dance is one of the ways to express ourselves. It is considered an important aspect of culture of any region. Dance is not performed just to express happiness. It can be also performed for expressing aggression, pain, any story, and any situation. Dance is not a particular movement to express yourselves. It's all about to groove your body and enjoy the music. Creating your own style makes you happier. Performing what makes you satisfied and stress free is the magic of dance. I am having a wonderful experience being the editor of the dance section. Thank you.
It is an honor to introduce the art section of the magazine Feathers of Hope, a Christ Academy Junior College monthly production. Greetings, I am Devika Kirti, the editor of informative articles and art section titled Add Color to Your Life. I was delighted to receive so many exquisite works of art from various talented students. Art is a medium of expression, and these artists have done just that, be it landscapes, portraits, sketches, or any other form of art. I hope to keep receiving your magnificent artwork. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tahir, the creative head of the magazine Feathers of Hope. Music is a form of art. When different kinds of musics are put together, they they come up to make pleasant sounds to human beings. It is called music. Music is derived from the Greek word music, which means music. Music is an art and goddess of music and poetry, which includes two things. One is people singing, and the other form is musical instruments. Music plays a very important role in bringing people together, whether it is festival, concert, or a club at night. People come together to enjoy music that's being played. In this edition of magazine, we have received wonderfully written articles about music. Hope you have a melodious time reading it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Satija, the editor of Cherish Moments. Here in Peniton section, we have included articles on different topics received from both students and teachers. For example, topics like the human computer, the flying river of Amazon, power of mass media, my mother is a walking miracle, and Gandhi Jayanti. Thank you.
Greetings to everyone. I'm also the editor of session News and Views. This session deals with all the events and happenings in CAJC campus. This session comprises of reports, news stories, feature write-ups. The students across the campus have contributed tirelessly to this session. Thank you everyone. Find your works here published.
नमस्ते, मैं अमन भास्कर, हिंदी साहित्य का संपादक, आज अपने कार्य और भाव को आप सबों के सामने संप्रेषित करने जा रहा हूँ। महाशय, निराश होना और हिम्मत हारना अपने प्रति एक अपराध है। आत्मबल ही संसार का सबसे बड़ा बल है। जिसे पाना है वो कहीं बाहर नहीं बल्कि हमारे अस्तित्व के केंद्र में समाहित है। बुद्धि, भावना और शरीर के त्रिवेणी संगम का नाम ही मानवीय जीवन है। उत्तम विचार से ही उत्तम व्यक्तित्व के बीज उगते हैं, उनमें उत्तम कृतित्व के फल लगते हैं। आपका यह प्रयास अत्यंत ही सराहनीय है। मैं एक संपादक होने के नाते आपके इन प्रयासों का भूरी भूरी प्रशंसा करता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abhineet Arke, and I present to you the quiz section of this month's magazine. A quiz is a fun way to learn new things. Many times, it helps us view things in a brand new perspective. In every edition of the magazine, the quiz section will have 10 questions on a certain topic. As the IPL is underway, this month's quiz is based on teams that have played or are still playing in the IPL. Everybody can send in their answers to the email ID mentioned at the end of the quiz. We look forward to all of your participation. The first 3 people to send in the correct answers for every question will be featured in the next edition of the magazine. Stay tuned to this section for many more interesting quizzes in the upcoming editions of the magazine. Thank you.
Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela. I, Amrita, take it as my proud privilege to present to you the National Education Policy 2020, a vision for the flourishing minds of future India. This is the introductory article in a series of articles where we will continue to decode NEP 2020. This personally intrigued me a lot as I think the fundamental base for any human being is education. And along with all the changes and advancements in science and technology, I strongly believe that the education system should be on par with the futuristic goals. The entire process of research took around 2 to 3 weeks, whereas the writing, editing, and drafting took 2 to 3 days for me. Fortunately, I had a lot of strong guiding pillars, such as Jochin sir and my uncle, who left it up to my individuality, but gave it a thorough read and gave me their inputs and advice, which provided a holistic learning experience. I am eagerly excited to continue this writing process, and I hope all of you will enjoy reading it as much as I enjoyed writing it. Thank you.
And now, to finish it off, we have a quote by the very father of our nation. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I take this platform to appreciate and thank all the editorial board members, correspondents, contributors, and everyone behind the curtain for their constant support and remarkable efforts. Thank you all once again.
Definitely, Saranya, that's indeed very true. Now may I call upon Mrs. Angel Richard, the Academic Coordinator for Commerce Department, to felicitate those who have worked really hard for this dream come true.
Thank you, Sam. A very good afternoon to Reverend Father Joyce, Reverend Father Davis, Shri A.J. Philip, teachers, and my dear students. First and foremost, I would like to express my appreciation to our esteemed guest, Shri A.J. Philip, for his talk on Gandhi and Gandhism. His detailed views on journalism, Gandhi, and his works were very informative, and sharing his personal experiences have definitely motivated our students. Thank you, sir, for being part of this event. My congratulations to Mr. Jochin, lecturer of mass media, who has put his heart and soul to this course. His focus to impart practical knowledge through the publication of this magazine and to organize such a meaningful and enlightening talks with the stalwarts in their respective fields is truly commendable. Dear students, my congratulations to the editors and all the members involved in the magazine. It is not a small task to publish the magazine every month with the same zeal and energy as the first edition. Each edition seems to have something fresh and creates curiosity for the next. Students, your consistency and your perseverance to the publications amidst the monthly exams assignments is truly remarkable. My special congratulations to Amrita for her write-up on national education policy. We, the teachers of CAJC, are very proud of you and your work. Congratulations and my best wishes. Keep it up. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for those appreciative and uplifting words. May I now call upon Isha, ma'am, the lecturer of the English department, to deliver her message on the same.
Good afternoon to respected Father Joyce, Father Davis, our chief guest, Mr. A.J. Philip, teachers and students. We will all agree that 2020 has been an unusual year with so many hurdles in our life. We're leading much different lives than we had expected, and yet our students amaze us with their willingness, perseverance, and positivity. They have let nothing come their way, and nothing has stopped them from achieving what their heart desires. In the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. The students of Christ Academy Junior College are one such example. They've understood the need of the hour and adjusted with online classes, online cultural activities, and even online PTM. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate our students for their hard work. I would also like to thank the teams of media studies who organize, participate in Feathers of Hope, making it a grand success each time. We always look forward to each edition and to the publication. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this motivational word. It is said, the roots of all goodness lies in the soil of appreciation. Thank you, dear teachers and the management, without whose support this would have been not possible.
Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. With this, I would now like to call upon Shweta ma'am, the lecturer for the chemistry department, to render the vote of thanks.
A very warm and graceful evening to our most valued Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. A.J. Philip, President Deepalia, New Delhi, Reverend Father Dr. Joyce, Principal CAJC, Reverend Father Davis, Vice Principal CAJC, Management Committee, worthy teachers and students. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked really hard to make Feather of Hope 4th edition a great success. We are sure that the positive attitude, hard work, sustained efforts, and innovative ideas exhibited by our students will surely stir the minds of the readers. The Herculean task of editing this magazine would have not been possible without the sincere effort of the members of the editorial board who sorted out the articles. We are also very thankful to our colleagues for their sustained continuous support. Finally, last but not the least, I'm really thankful to our principal, Reverend Father Dr. Joyce, and Vice Principal, Reverend Father Davis, for entrusting us with this magazine. Once again, thank you all for taking out your valuable time and have a great evening.
Thank you, ma'am, for that humble and grateful words. And I'm sure this event will definitely hold a special place in everyone's heart.
True, Sam. Today, we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and therefore, this will surely encourage us in our future events. Each one of your presents added more color and delight to this event. Last but not the least, I would like to tell a quote. It is not thankful people who are happy. It is happy people who are thankful. Thank you all once again.
May I now request everyone to kindly rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नाम